In modern warfare, dominance is no longer decided solely by the size of an army or the thickness of its armor, but by who controls the sky above the battlefield. And in Ukraine in 2025, this reality has become brutally clear as Russian tanks, once symbols of unstoppable power, now advance under the constant threat of unseen drones, turning every movement into a calculated risk and every advance into a potential death trap. In 2025, the battlefield in Ukraine has entered a new and unforgiving phase, one that marks a decisive break from the armored warfare doctrines of the past, where heavy tanks once symbolized dominance, protection, and offensive power, but now move forward under constant and invisible threat from the sky. Nowhere is this transformation more evident than in the deadly encounters between Russian tank units and the relentless drone operators of Ukraine's Azov forces, as vast stretches of farmland, shattered villages, abandoned industrial zones, and scarred forest lines have been reshaped into vast hunting grounds, where steel columns advance cautiously, engines idling low, commanders hesitant, knowing that at any moment unseen eyes may already be tracking their every movement, calculating distance, speed, terrain, and vulnerability with cold precision. What was once open maneuver space has become a lethal chessboard, where a single mistake, a pause too long, or a route too predictable can mean instant destruction from above. Russian tank crews, operating a mix of modernized Soviet-era platforms and newer armored vehicles, now face a battlefield environment saturated with persistent aerial surveillance, where even the briefest engine ignition, a heat spike from exhaust vents, or the faint outline of tracks pressed into soft soil can betray their position to Azov drone teams operating kilometers away. These drone operators are rarely visible, often concealed within camouflaged shelters, ruined houses, tree lines, or underground firing points that allow them to observe, relay real-time intelligence, and strike without ever revealing their own location. Years of frontline adaptation have transformed Azov drone units into highly disciplined, technically skilled teams that no longer rely on single reconnaissance flights, but instead deploy layered drone systems combining observation drones, communication relay platforms, electronic warfare awareness, and strike drones, forming a continuous loop of detection, confirmation, and engagement that turns every Russian armored advance into a slow, tense, and often catastrophic gamble. As Russian tanks attempt to maneuver through narrow forest corridors, cross exposed intersections, or push forward along damaged rural roads cratered by artillery, Azov drones hover silently above, adjusting altitude and flight paths to avoid detection, exploiting blind spots in air defense coverage, and feeding live video directly to command elements, coordinating precision strikes. In many cases, the first indication a tank crew receives that they have been detected is not a warning alarm, radar alert, or radio transmission, but the sudden violent impact of a shaped charge munition striking the engine deck, turret ring, or exposed rear armor, instantly transforming a heavily armored vehicle into a burning wreck that blocks the advance and traps following vehicles in deadly choke points. Smoke, flames, and confusion spread rapidly, while drones continue to circle overhead, calmly recording the aftermath and searching for secondary targets attempting to escape or recover the disabled vehicle. In this environment, traditional armored doctrine struggles to adapt, as speed, armor thickness, and numerical mass no longer guarantee survival. Russian formations are increasingly forced to disperse, halt frequently, reposition under cover of smoke, and deploy additional air defense assets that are often insufficient to counter the sheer number, low cost, and agility of Ukrainian drones operating simultaneously at multiple altitudes and angles. Every movement becomes slower, every decision heavier, and every pause more dangerous. Azov drone operators exploit this hesitation with patience and discipline, studying Russian reactions, identifying behavioral patterns, and striking at moments of maximum vulnerability, such as during refueling halts, repair operations, crew dismounts, or attempts to evacuate damaged tanks from contested zones, turning logistical necessities into deadly opportunities. By 2025, drone warfare is no longer an auxiliary element of the conflict, but a central force shaping nearly every tactical and operational decision on the battlefield. Azov units have refined their methods into a highly coordinated system where drones act not only as weapons, but as sensors, scouts, psychological tools, and force multipliers that steadily erode morale and confidence within Russian armored crews. Tank operators now advance knowing that armor thickness offers no guarantee of protection against a precisely guided explosive descending vertically from above, targeting the weakest points that decades of armor design were never intended to defend against. Frontline footage repeatedly shows tanks attempting to conceal themselves under improvised camouflage nets, deploy smoke screens, or position near ruined buildings and civilian infrastructure to break drone line of sight. Yet even these measures offer only temporary relief against operators who wait, reposition, and strike when conditions align. The result is a battlefield where initiative increasingly belongs to the side that controls information, visibility, and timing rather than sheer firepower alone. Azov drone dominance extends far beyond individual engagements, influencing the broader operational picture across multiple sectors of the Ukrainian front. Russian commanders are forced to reconsider how and when armored units can be deployed, often delaying offensives, restricting tank usage to defensive roles, or assigning armor to operate farther from the front lines. While Ukraine leverages constant drone pressure to shape enemy movement, channel advances into predictable routes, expose logistical networks, and set ideal conditions for artillery strikes, ambushes, and counterattacks. Each destroyed or disabled tank represents not only a material loss, but a strategic signal that the era of uncontested armored maneuver is rapidly fading. For Azov forces, drones have become an extension of the individual soldier's presence, allowing small teams to exert influence far beyond their physical footprint and challenge formations that once required overwhelming manpower and firepower to stop. The psychological impact is profound as Russian crews operate under continuous stress, aware that they are likely being watched long before an attack occurs, and that survival depends as much on discipline and coordination as on armor and weapon systems. The skies above the battlefield, once dominated by aircraft and helicopters, are now crowded with small, agile machines that quietly decide the fate of armored columns below. As the conflict continues through 2025, the duel between Russian tanks and Azov drones stands as one of the defining symbols of modern warfare, illustrating how innovation, adaptation, and battlefield learning can shift the balance even against numerically or materially superior forces. It reveals a harsh truth for armored warfare in the modern era. Survival depends not only on armor and firepower, but on situational awareness, integration, and the ability to operate under constant surveillance, where every movement may already be recorded, analyzed, and targeted before the crew even realizes they have been detected. The story unfolding on Ukraine's battlefield in 2025 is not just about tanks and drones, but about the transformation of war itself, where technology, adaptability, and human skill converge in a relentless contest for control, visibility, and survival. Thank you for watching this in-depth analysis of Russian tanks hunted by Azov drones on the Ukraine battlefield in 2025. If you want more detailed frontline breakdowns, modern warfare analysis, and immersive battlefield narratives, don't forget to follow and subscribe to the channel Delta History, where we explore how today's conflicts are reshaping the future of war.